Hello, my fellow weirdlings. It's Margot, and today we're going to talk about the American holiday known as Juneteenth. What's it all about? How did it begin? And how is it celebrated today? If you'd like to know more, keep watching. Also known as Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, or Juneteenth Independence Day, Juneteenth is so named as a combination of the words June and 19th, which is the date it falls on. Juneteenth commemorates the end of slavery in the United States and is considered the longest-running African-American holiday. It's been celebrated since the late 1800s. It's common knowledge that the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1, 1863. This proclamation established that all enslaved people in Confederate states shall be thenceforward, and forever free. But this didn't immediately free all of those who were enslaved. The proclamation applied only to the areas under Confederate control and didn't include border states or rebel areas already under Union control. As Northern troops advanced into the Confederate South, many enslaved people fled behind Union lines. In Texas, there had been no large-scale fighting or significant presence of Union troops, so everything pretty much continued on as usual, with many enslavers from other states moving there, viewing Texas as a safe haven for slavery. The Civil War ended in April of 1865, when Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. But slavery continued in Texas until U.S. General Gordon Granger arrived with federal troops in Galveston on June 19, 1865, to take control of the state and read General Orders No. 3, which stated, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free." This finally signaled freedom for Texas's 250,000 enslaved people. This was a full 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. But still, not every enslaved person was immediately emancipated, as some enslavers knowingly withheld the information until after harvest season. Upon learning of their freedom, celebrations broke out among newly freed black people as the earliest incarnation of what we now know as Juneteenth. That December, slavery in America was formally abolished by the 13th Amendment. The next year, on June 19, 1866, freed people in Texas organized the first annual celebration of what was then known as Jubilee Day. The celebration really ramped up in 1872 when a group of formerly enslaved black ministers and businessmen in Houston named Richard Allen, Richard Brock, Jack Yates, and Elias Dibble purchased 10 acres of land for $800, on which they created Emancipation Park. This space was intended to hold the city's annual Juneteenth celebration. The day was celebrated by praying and bringing families together. Emancipation Park is now the oldest public park in Houston. As freed people from Texas migrated to other parts of the U.S. and many descendants were born, the Juneteenth tradition spread and gained popularity. Over the next century, Juneteenth celebrations featured music, barbecues, prayer services, and other activities. In some celebrations, former slaves and their descendants made an annual pilgrimage back to Galveston. In 1977, the Juneteenth Flag was created by activist Ben Haith, founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation, with the help of illustrator Lisa Gina Graff. Their design contains a lot of meaningful symbolism. The flag deliberately consists of the colors red, white, and blue, like the American flag. This was meant to signify that enslaved people who weren't granted citizenship and their descendants were and always have been Americans. It also signified the United States' continued responsibility to do right by those affected by the continued injustices faced by Black Americans. The white star in the center represents both Texas, the Lone Star State, and the freedom of enslaved people in all 50 states. The white outline around the star is said to have been inspired by an astronomical event called a nova, which marks the birth of a new star. In this case, it symbolizes a new beginning for African Americans in the United States. The arc that extends across the width of the flag represents a new horizon. In 1980, Texas became the first state to make Juneteenth an official holiday, though the recognition was largely symbolic. Over the ensuing years, several other states began to recognize the holiday as well. Since then, at least 47 states and Washington, D.C. have moved to officially recognize the holiday. In June of 2021, Congress passed a resolution establishing Juneteenth as America's 11th official federal holiday. President Biden signed it into law on June 17, 2021. Previous efforts to make Juneteenth a federal holiday had failed. This shift in the government's and the public's consciousness came after the intense civil unrest of 2020, in response to many brutal and unnecessary deaths of Black people at the hands of the police. Before this, many people, especially non-Black people, had never even heard of Juneteenth or Black Wall Street or any of the multitude of other facets of our nation's history that hadn't been whitewashed and published in our history books. Amidst the Black Lives Matter movement and the national debate around it, many more Americans finally started to become more aware of the racial inequities in our country. During this turbulent time, and prior to Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday, many businesses and large corporations moved toward making Juneteenth a company holiday, giving employees a paid day off. The sudden media attention around the topic of Juneteenth sparked interest among the public. Other things started to change as well. Democrats in Congress proposed legislation targeting misconduct and racial discrimination by the police. This bill was the most expansive intervention into policing that lawmakers had proposed in recent memory. Companies began holding employees accountable for racist remarks and attitudes, and guilty verdicts that previously probably would have resulted in a slap on the wrist were handed down to those in positions of authority who'd flagrantly taken the lives of Black Americans. The Juneteenth celebration now resonates in new ways for many Americans, regardless of race or ethnicity. Though some cities hold larger events, many Juneteenth celebrations take place in backyards, where food and family are integral elements. Some celebrants choose to wear the colors red, black, and green on Juneteenth, in honor of the Pan-African flag, which was designed to represent people of the African diaspora and is regarded as a symbol of Black freedom. Many enjoy specifically red foods and beverages, such as strawberry pie, watermelon, red velvet cake, and strawberry soda. This color symbolizes the perseverance and resilience of those who were enslaved. This custom is also a throwback to the 2 red drinks enslaved Africans brought with them to the United States and Caribbean South, native to West Africa: hibiscus tea and kola nut tea. Galveston, Texas still remains a busy site for Juneteenth events. In 2021, the city dedicated a 5,000 square foot mural entitled Absolute Equality on the spot where General Granger read the orders that informed Texas's enslaved people of their freedom. In my opinion, America didn't have true freedom until every American was emancipated, and we still have a long way to go to achieve true equity and equality among all Americans. In the meantime, Juneteenth is a good reminder of how far we've come as a nation, and a great time for self-reflection and thoughts on how we can best continue that progress. Many allies to the Black community make it a priority at this time of year to support Black businesses, designers, and creators. I couldn't help but notice as I wrote this that the names of the white people who were peripherally involved in this story were readily available in every Juneteenth article, while the names of the Black people who were instrumental in starting this holiday and making it the annual national celebration it is today were a lot harder to find. It seems like a good time to acknowledge that we can't really learn about American history without learning about Black American history, and not just 1 month out of the year. Leaving out such huge chunks of the events and people who've brought us to where we are today is doing every American a disservice. I made this video because I wanted to know more about the origins and celebrations of Juneteenth, and assumed others would too. I hope this gives you a better understanding of what this holiday is all about. That's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this topic and will come back for more. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and bring your friends, family, COVID pod, cult members, invisible friends, or enemies. And if you have your own Juneteenth traditions, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching.